do a quick round of intro, like what do you do with Prodigy and what do you do in general? Yeah.
Sure. Hi, I'm Pritish, part of the Prodigy Finance business development team here in India. My job is basically to make sure that the offering of the product is met and delivered to all Indian students, that there is an option where you could fund your education based just on your merit, that you're going to a top ranked school without a collateral or co-signer.
Awesome. And I know that, because we've talked offline so much that you've been into this in like international studies, education, studies abroad. You've helped with many students on application process and all of that. What are some of the challenges you've seen students face when they do a study abroad application?
That's a good question. Just having worked in the space for close to 5 years now, that study in India and studying abroad, I think there are two facets which come into play. One of them being is the emotional aspect of it, the decision that they want to be doing this, which could either mean two things. One is they're going to be away from home for a year or two, and they're also going to be a year or two away from an opportunity cost that they would not be working, right? So I think the very big decision on doing this becomes a fundamental one, and there's a lot of prep that goes into it. It's almost around 16 to 17 months if you consider the GRE or the GMAT exams. So it's a very monumental choice that they have to make, and we met a lot of these folks in Mumbai and Pune in the hundreds. So Congratulations, and I'm so glad that they made that choice. So that's one of those facets, just the call of it. The second thing is the finance, right? Education as such is not a cheap affair anymore, right? So especially in India, if you're going abroad, it becomes a very expensive affair.
Right.
We're talking roughly around $50,000 for an MS program in the US. And if you were going for an MBA, that keeps getting higher.
Right. Now, let's say they got their profile, everything is ready. Now they're working on choosing a college. I know
Correct.
Prodigy works with so many colleges. And what's your take on ranking versus location?
If I'm going for an MS, I want to be at a great school that has great history, and I know that recruiters are looking in that area. And I would also take the element of how much the school is going to cost me.
Right.
Because you're not really buying that degree, you're buying an experience.
Right.
So when all of these things come together, I would say having the location is super important, because let's say if you were doing a 12-month program,
Right.
you pretty much have 9 months on core curriculum, 3 months to adjust in and out, and bang, that's it. You just have just a couple of very less time to secure that internship that will probably transform into a job, and then you can have your 3 years OPT if you're doing a 2-year program.
Right.
So I would say definitely pay close emphasis and attention to the course you choose. And I would say networking is everything.
Right. So looks like you also kind of prefer location, but obviously, it has to overall college ranking and location and what it offers in general, rather than just very
Correct.
specific that it's a top 15 college or top 20 college.
And I think in addition to that, the other thing is some colleges are actually expensive than the others.
Right.
So at least the way we look at it, Prodigy, or what students have told us over the last decade, is because Prodigy gives you unique rates, basically your financial capability per school.
Right.
It's also helped the students decide if they should go for university A over B, because let's say B was cheaper and they probably got a better rate or they got a higher loan amount. So I think even money plays the fifth element over here.
Totally. And it's a good segue into money, because that's what I want to touch into next question, which is, I know that Prodigy definitely helps with money, funding the education. But what I like about Prodigy is that they don't only give the money to students for education, but they also stay with the student over all the process. In fact, you guys meet the students on campus when you are in the United States. Also educate on how to use the funds wisely. One of the things you said in the seminars was like, don't take loan if it's not necessary, which is kind of like an mind-boggling to me. Like, our bank is saying that, why would you say that, right? So I think, what's your take on overall funding process and why Prodigy, how Prodigy helps with students on funding overall?
Perfect. I'll actually answer that in two parts. One is, what does this mean for the student? What does this mean for the person who's actually taking that loan? And two is how Prodigy does it. I think for the student who lands up taking that loan, it is going to be the biggest debt that they ever take in their lives. Right? An education loan is roughly around 4 to 5x more expensive than any other financial loan that they would land up taking. If you compare it with, let's say, a personal loan or an auto loan, we're looking at least $50,000 a year. That's a lot of money. So that's on the emotional rational on what this means for the student. So I would say always try looking for softer loans if you have them. Basically, family or friends, if you are in that scenario. I know you have a very similar story.
I do.
Your parents were your parents and relatives were very accommodating to do that for you. But if that is not an option, even look at scholarships, look at student waivers, and the education loan should be actually, your option after all of these. In most of the cases, it's a combination of this, but see what suits you and take that decision accordingly. Talking about the loan itself, which is Prodigy, is there something specific you want to know?
Like, how does Prodigy help funding the education?
Cool. If I had to, elevator pitch this in a minute, the way I would say it is that if you're going to a top-ranked school, we will fund you, right? All depending on the fact that school has made the decision that you are deserving to be a part of their cohort. So we don't want to come and second guess that. So the process is completely online. If you have an internet connection with either a mobile phone or a laptop, you can get a code within 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, you pretty much get to know everything. Your rate of interest, your loan amount, your tenure, and all the other things that is available on a quote. You take this quote and you accept it, submit 3 to 4 simple documents online, and your loan gets processed in 7 to 10 days. And that's how we have done it for the last 11, 12 years in operations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think, since you've worked in this industry for many, many years, and then you've worked with students who goes abroad every single year, what's one of the biggest advice would you give them who's trying to pursue their career or education in the United States?
Sounds a little cliche, but I would say stay humble even after you graduate, right? And I'm not trying to quote anyone over here, but I would say remember where you come from, the roots, your upbringing, and things like that, and be very sure that you want to be doing this. And of course, definitely look at the finance aspect of it. It could be a pretty life-changing one for you.